The prosecution outlines acts of deception it says proves Erin Patterson intentionally killed her guests with death cap mushrooms. But her defence team argues that she is a devoted mother that had no motive to deprive her children of their grandparents. And she only lied about some details because she was freaking out. This is what happened in week 8 of Erin Patterson's triple murder trial. A fog covered more when Crown Prosecutor Nanette Rogers SC began her final arguments for the jury. She began by saying Erin Patterson lied about her health, first with lies about tests that never happened, then false cancer claims to her guests during the lunch. Why on earth would she tell such a lie? The Crown Prosecutor asked the court. She did not think her lunch guests would live to reveal it. Her lie would die with them. The guests were Don and Gail Patterson, as well as Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson and her husband Ian Wilkinson. They were served beef Wellington. All guests became seriously ill, and 3 died from death cap mushroom poisoning. Erin Patterson is charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 of attempted murder, but she maintains her innocence, saying it was a tragic accident. Ian Wilkinson has testified each guest was served an individual beef Wellington on a grey plate, but Erin Patterson used a smaller tan or orange plate. However, when Erin Patterson was questioned, she said the plates were a mix of colours and that Ian Wilkinson is mistaken. Dr. Rogers told the jury this week to believe the sole surviving guest. He is a reliable witness and you can confidently accept what he told you about the detail of the lunch, including the 4 grey plates and the 5th odd plate. Across the 8-week-long trial, which included 50 witnesses, the prosecution presented police evidence showing a computer found in Erin Patterson's home had visited a citizen scientist website which allowed people to log the locations of toxic mushrooms, and that her mobile phone had connected to towers near the locations where death cap mushrooms had been seen. The Crown Prosecutor told the court the accused had the knowledge to locate death cap mushrooms, the knowledge, skill and equipment to dehydrate mushrooms, blitz them into a powder and hide them in food. She had complete control over the ingredients that went into the lunch. The prosecution also said Erin Patterson deceived people about how sick she was after the toxic meal. Dr. Rogers telling the jury Miss Patterson left Leongatha Hospital after on-call Dr. Chris Webster told her he feared she had been exposed to death cap mushrooms. This is the moment we suggest to you that she realised what she had done had not gone undetected. Her reaction? She wanted to leave. Then, that the mother of 2 allegedly committed to a sustained cover-up. This included lying to police about owning a food dehydrator, then dumping it at the tip, allegedly concealing her usual mobile phone from police and lying about the source of the mushrooms, including claiming some came from an Asian grocer, but later admitting she had previously foraged for wild mushrooms and that dehydrated foraged mushrooms may have accidentally been added to the meal when she added mushrooms from a Tupperware container for flavour. And her claim that she was also sick with diarrhoea but was reluctant to be in hospital and also reluctant to bring her children to hospital even though she said she had fed them leftovers from the lunch. She's told lies upon lies because she knew the truth would implicate her. The Crown Prosecutor also told the jury it did not need to find a motive for murder to find that there was intent. You don't have to know why a person does something in order to know they did it. The question you have to determine is, has the prosecution proved beyond reasonable doubt that the accused did this deliberately? Erin Patterson's defence team, however, maintains she is not guilty. Colin Mandy SC began his closing statement saying the jury essentially has 2 questions to answer. First, is there a reasonable possibility the death cap mushrooms were put into this meal accidentally? And second, is it a reasonable possibility that Erin Patterson did not intend to kill or cause serious injury to her guests? And to do this, they must focus on facts, not feelings. Our moral impressions of right and wrong aren't evidence. You must work very hard in this case because it is confronting to put that kind of thing to one side. He also said the prosecution lacked a motive, which is normally fundamental to proving an intent to kill or seriously injure. If anything, the 50-year-old had reason to keep her in-laws in her life. Erin Patterson had a motive to keep these people in her world so that they could keep supporting her and her children. And there's absolutely no doubt that Don and Gail had a great relationship with their grandchildren. Absolutely no doubt that Erin was devoted to her children. He dismissed messages allegedly written by Erin complaining about Don and Gail as a brief spat about child support that was resolved amicably. It's an unsatisfactory piece of evidence, he said. One agreed fact between the prosecution and defence is that Erin Patterson lied to police about the dehydrator. But Colin Mandy said these lies were born from panic rather than guilt. He said if there was a plan for murder, Erin Patterson would have disposed of the dehydrator months before and never told anyone she had one. It speaks volumes about her state of mind. And later in closing arguments added, she was freaking out. People were blaming her, understandably, because whichever way you look at it, it was her fault. He said lies about her health before the meal was not a ruse, but as Erin Patterson said while in the witness box, it was to cover for planned weight loss treatments. It's got nothing to do with any intention to kill or to harm them. It can't possibly have anything to do with that. He also addressed the issue around how sick Erin Patterson was after the meal, saying her younger age, weight, the amount she ate, random distribution of death cap mushrooms in a paste, and that she says she binge ate cake and then quickly threw up soon after the lunch explains her reduced reaction. That combination of reasons suggests that Erin may have reacted much better to consuming that same meal. That's just what happens. The question around computer history and Erin Patterson's admitted interest in wild mushrooms was also addressed by Colin Mandy. Erin loved mushrooms, not only the wild ones, also eating them. She told people that she believed that they were full of nutrition and flavour and she used them in cooking. And her wanting to know if toxic death cap mushrooms grew in Gippsland was an obvious question, but the visits were brief, meaning this was not a deep and abiding interest in this subject matter. It was passing attention in exactly the same way as many of us would do on our devices. Something pops into our head in an idle moment. Justice Christopher Beale will give the jury final instructions next week, which will be the trial's 9th week, before allowing the jurors to retire and find a verdict.